Hi, it's Jonathan from Behind the Build, and I wanted to make you aware of a change. What you'll see in the title of the releases is Behind the Build AD and Behind the Build ID. Behind the Build AD is architectural design. Anything associated with architectural design will be released on Mondays. Behind the Build ID is interior design. Anything to do with interior design and its consultants will be released on Thursdays. I would ask kindly that as you hear this, if you could, to find the rating system in the format that you listen and consume Behind the Build, and please give it 5 stars. It helps us with overall engagement and visibility with a new audience. With that said, please enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Behind the Build. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobs, and today I have with me someone that I've known for a little while. I haven't worked together in a while, but I would say won quite a number of awards in interiors. She has done work across Canada, into the US, and beyond. Mm-hmm. I have with me today Ashley Botten from Ashley Botten Design.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
So, what I'm excited about here is that a little while back, Ashley and our company, Walden Homes, we'd worked together at a client's house, got to know each other slightly here and there. And in the time that I've been with Walden, I've always followed your work, and it's always been beautiful. And so I thought it would be really interesting to have you on and talk. How did you get to developing this amazing practice? Mm-hmm. And start from the beginning of like your youngest memories of your ability to have an interest both in creativity, but in design and also I think your social network and being able to get out there with people to help build your practice. Mm-hmm. So yeah, kick it off to the beginning of your life. What was it like?
Well, it does start at the beginning. So I have always, when I was a young girl, I loved being in my room, my bedroom, spending time in there because of how it felt and the way that I would, arrange the furniture. Arranging the furniture. I would be into the details of setting up, like what would go exactly on my desk, how the papers would be set up. You know, I played around with like this idea in my head and tried to bring it to life. And my only space that I could really do that I could consider mine was my room.
Listening to Ashley talk about how she kept rearranging her room until it felt right, it's a good reminder that the best design often disappears. The doors builds openings that are intentionally quiet. Slim, minimalist profiles that do not try to be the focal point, but instead let the landscape, the light, and the architecture lead. They work with premium systems inside their assemblies, including Schuko, and can deliver solutions in aluminum, wood, or interior partitions applications depending on the intent of the space. The goal is not to draw attention to the frame or the overall assembly. It is to create a natural transition when inside and outside feel connected without being forced, or as a divider between rooms. When it is done well, the result is calm. The detailing feels resolved. The view feels uninterrupted, and the architecture carries the experience. If you want to learn more, head over to the liner notes and you can click on the Doors website or email me, Jonathan, Jonathan, at waldenhomes.ca, and I'm happy to connect you with their team. All right, back to Ashley.
So it could also have, there was a bed, but sometimes I didn't want it to be a bedroom. So I would set it up as maybe it was like an office, or it would be more like a living room.
How old were you when you were doing this?
I lived till I was in grade 8, but I would have said like I was doing this when I was in grade 4, 5. I had a carpet in my room. Yeah. So it was easy to push the furniture around. And it was sometimes it was, I don't know, maybe at one point I didn't have a bed frame and then I did. And so anyways, furniture seemed to sometimes be heavier than other times, or, maybe it was too heavy for that day and I had to leave, the chest of drawers where it was.
Yeah.
And but then I didn't really like that arrangement. So anyway, I was started to really, push my furniture around the room and kind of just play with scenes. And I guess how I imagined I would be in a hotel lobby, with what I had,
Right.
in my bedroom. So
Was this in Toronto?
yes, I lived in Toronto. Yeah,
Okay.
I lived in Toronto. I have lived in Toronto. I've moved. I did move when I was in grade 9 and 10 out of Canada. We lived in Boston, and part of, I think the feeling came from, well, I know this because it's been always kind of rooted back in, but my dad worked for a hotel. He was executive in hotel businesses,
Okay.
starting off with the Four Seasons. And so that was a place familiar to me.
Yeah, of course.
So the familiarity, I would go to something, a beautiful hotel, and I loved my house, but it wasn't like the hotel. And then
Right.
I was very drawn to the feeling of the hotel. And here it was, when I was younger, it was really in Toronto, and there was an amazing, the Inn on the Park over,
Oh, man. Yeah.
what was it? Over
Eglinton and Leslie.
in Leslie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then on Avenue Road,
Yeah.
the corner of Avenue Road in Cumberland.
The Inn in the Park was like, it was like the spot in Toronto for so many people just to go and spend a day.
Yes, you could, right? You could go, you could do a little shopping. There's that little row of stores.
Yeah.
You could get your hair cut. You could have a manicure. You could, there was 3 pools, I believe. There was arcade.
Restaurants.
Yeah, 5 or so restaurants.
Yeah.
So you could pick and choose, you had a selection. Beautiful property. Couple, stores, gift stores. So yeah, we would park it there for a weekend, and it was fun. Yeah,
Yeah, I have such fond memories of the same thing. So I can completely understand.
Yeah.
I actually used to do the same thing. I used to actually take my parents. I used to have graph paper, and I would
space plan that.
I would space plan my room. I would move I had IKEA furniture, and I would move my.
That was what I had too. I had
Yeah.
IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had IKEA furniture, IKEA wallpaper, and then there was fabric for a valance on my 2 windows in my room that matched the wallpaper. Yes, but I loved it was a kind of a contemporary, it was hearts. The wallpaper was hearts.
Yeah.
And it was very more like, it wasn't random. It was very like the same heart on repeat, quite tight, like tightly on this grid. So it was contemporary in a way. And the heart was quite a contemporary shape. And I loved it. And then I love hearts. But anyway, we can get into that if we want to or not. But
You want to talk about hearts? Let's go.
Maybe we'll lead into something else. But it was very, I loved that. I loved the wallpaper. I loved being in there and the whole kind of backdrop that my parents set up.
So your parents gave you the autonomy when you were going and selecting furniture from IKEA. Like you got to pick it.
Yeah, I think I can't really remember, but it was, it was pretty like, it was white. So it kind of worked with everything, and then, although they did also, I thought where you were going with that too was, the idea that I could rearrange my room however. So I did have, that was my space. Yes.
But the autonomy started, I guess where I'm going is like the autonomy starts with like the idea of being able to then go to select your furniture.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's in that space is yours.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a great canvas to do. That's kind of cheesy canvas, but it was a great space to do that. I felt
but that's
everything kind of worked.
It was your art expression, right?
Yeah. Yes. And then within my room, I was an early riser and I'd go and to my parents' room, and then it was a little too early. So, amuse yourself. So I would color. And that's when I was really, I was like in grade 3 then. So I had the bottom drawer of my chest of drawers was jam packed with everything to do with coloring. And I'd wake up early and I would draw and color.
And what were you drawing?
I think coloring books. Like I remember I had a babysitter who colored with me, and it was really about this outline, like outlining the shapes and shading it in lighter. So there was this define or depth maybe that I could create in the coloring books, which I didn't realize. So I remember them, coloring books. It was always like a black drawing. You color within the black lines. And sometimes the lines were finer, depends on, how it was printed, or they were thicker.
Yeah.
But I liked how I guess at that point I didn't know what to call it until I went to school for this, but it was, I could shade it and I could define the lines and I could give it depth and give the drawing depth. And so I would practice that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was always something about a reflection of the work too. I would always look at it and that was a fun part for me, looking at what I had made. And same with rearranging my room. I would stand back and look at it all. And then if I need to tweak something, I would, and then I'd always go back. Because basically I would stand at my door of my bedroom closed, and then I'd look at the room and then I would tweak. And
I don't think I've ever had this conversation with anyone about the level of parallel lives that I felt like I'm leading.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm listening to you tell this story and thinking of myself like it's the exact same thing. I'm not an interior designer.
Yeah, it's about, I think it's, so then it was like, what is that I'm connecting to? And so I want to create that. And that's where it came from. So you don't really know, you wouldn't know that may be the path to continue doing that, or try to figure out what how to create the spaces that really are like happy, beautiful spaces.
Yeah.
So you feel great in.
So were you taking, I guess, was your focus in school as you went through it, was your focus in arts, or what were your interests?
Yeah, I guess, I guess through high school, not so much. Like I was not great at, math and kind of like mathematics. And so I, did what I needed to do otherwise. And then so I did school, and school was fine, but it's not, there's not a lot around school that kind of came with me with this. It was more also the expression of like what I was wearing, like also clothes, like fashion was always a thing too. So if I'd be in my room, it would be like if we were going, like let's say we had dinner or family, and then we wanted to go eat ice cream. So we would go out for after dinner to get ice cream, but I might already be in my pajamas because I was younger. But then I'd put a little belt around my pajamas to make it like more of an outfit kind of thing. I remember that.
Accessorize.
I would accessorize. Yeah. And I would try. Yeah. And I was I was doing some accessorizing, and I was playing around with volume with my clothes too. And I would just like what I liked, and I would wear that. It wasn't like I was aware of what was happening around me as far as clothing. I mean, I was young. Kid, I don't think that wasn't happening. Yeah.
Yeah. The world revolved around you. Yes, you were a kid.
Yes. And then, as I got older, I remember the New York Times, the Sunday Times, and I would love that magazine. And then I would tear out, I love the papers, like a flimsy colored, it was all colored in the magazine, but it still has a newspaper feel. Yeah. It's flimsy. And I'd cut out or tear out all like fashion stuff, and I'd put them on my wall, and it would just be, just a big, huge wall of all.
Did they cover the hearts, or did they fill in the blank space between the hearts?
So I'm jumping.
Okay.
Time. I'm just kind of getting into the fashion part. Yeah. So no, this was later.
Okay.
And we had actually moved. Okay. So, fair. And I was living in the US. And so
this is in Boston.
Yes.
Okay. So I do want to ask you a question before we go to Boston.
Yes.
After school programs. Were you ever doing after school programs?
I was.
Okay. Like what?
I was doing, I liked cooking.
Yeah.
Was that like home ec? I don't cook. How do I say? I don't cook, but I like to. You
have appreciation for it.
I do. It's not that, and then I'm also not a great cook, but I kind of tend to like stick with the same stuff. So I do need to experiment there, but I do like being in the judgment thing. Yeah, I do like to. I do like to go. I do like to buy the food. I like to think about the recipe. I like to buy the food. I like to come home and cook it, and I like to be in the kitchen and do that. So I like. Again, I think it's just the environment that I love to be in, and it helps. It's warm and it's a sensory. Like there's smells that I like too, and all that.
Okay, sorry, I gone off a lot of different tangents. So going back to the stuff after the after school programs. So cooking.
Yes, I think I did. Well, home ec I did. You could either do woodworking or you could do making. I think. I don't know. We made a t-shirt. I made a t-shirt, but I don't know what. I guess it was sewing. So I did that. I made a t-shirt. I don't know. I guess whatever it was, I wasn't going out there and I didn't do art classes somewhere else.
Okay.
I guess I was into ballet.
Yeah.
I did skating, figure skating, and those were my kind of my sports, let's say.
Okay.
Tennis.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. I guess. And then I still just had the expression of clothes, I guess.
Okay. So at this point, then you moved to Boston. You're there for a couple of years.
Yeah. So that's right. And so that was a whole new world. I lived in it's funny. Okay. So living in Toronto, I lived in Lawrence Park. And I lived in Lawrence Park, we moved to Boston, came back. We lived there for a couple of years. We came back to Toronto, lived in Lawrence Park. And I went to Lawrence Park, and then I left Lawrence Park and I was going to another school, and it was like south of Eglinton. And I was like, this is a whole new world. Like Toronto, like I hadn't, it's like that pocket. Yeah. Like Lawrence Park to me, but I knew it. I mean, everything was there. Everything was convenient, and you kind of stayed in the area. That's my experience.
Well, but also you were a younger kid when you were living there before you went to Boston.
Yes. Yeah.
So you didn't really get to explore anything else. It didn't mean anything to you.
No, it didn't. No, I didn't. Like when I did skating and I did the ballet, like everything's right there. You know, tennis is right there. So everything you could do all those things that was right there. Moving to Boston, although there's so many suburbs, like little suburbs around Boston. So you tend to live there. And so I thought of like when we were moving to Boston that I was moving to a city because that's what I knew of Boston. I didn't understand the suburb. And that was, so we lived in one of the suburbs. And so I always gravitated to the city. So then I was pulled appreciation for exploring Toronto more. And I did it, I didn't know how long we were going to live there. So maybe we could have lived there forever at the time.
Right.
So I kind of missed trying to explore the city of Toronto. But anyway, Boston is beautiful, and I love that city.
Oh, it's amazing.
And we moved there for my dad's job, so hotel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so when you were there, did you feel? I don't know. This is more of like just you Did you feel like you were like an outsider when you arrived, or did you feel like you were an outsider and you quickly kind of found your place and you were able to absorb some of what was there to make you then change your and clearly you did, because you come back to Toronto and now you're kind of like a different person. So what was that like for you? Yes,
it was. So it was hard. So I come in for grade 9.
Yeah.
Arrive in Boston to grade 9. The suburb that we lived in was called Wellesley Hills. And for instance, there's only one school. Like it's a small spot. I don't want to say small town. I guess it's like a town, but it's super small.
Yeah.
So there's one high school. Oh, there's one middle school. There's one high school, and I guess there's one preschool. Kind of
crazy.
And so the kids kind of know each other.
Yeah.
And I'm coming in at an entry level, and that small town also has, they are also in their bubble. As far as the world and, their neighbor, Canada. And so it was an adjustment that I was not aware of. Like I know a lot more about, let's just say America. I guess it's not that I was familiar with the United States. It's somewhere where we would go and visit. I've been there before and I've traveled there and that kind of thing. And it's like a lot of these kids hadn't left, and they don't know, Canada, let's say.
Yeah.
And so it was, what I do remember is it was, Canada's so cold. And so I lived up north in the snow the whole time, and I came there obviously to start the year. So I had been at camp. So I did that for the summer, and camp for me was up in Haliburton, which I refer to as up north. And so if I'm talking to someone there, I'm like, I believe I said up north, but they're not understanding. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. But the north was like I was living in an igloo.
Yeah.
And how do you have a suntan? And just these little things that just I wasn't expecting.
The ignorance.
Yes. Yeah. I was not expecting. It's like I said some swear word too. And they said, that word? Like it was
Do you know that Toronto is further south than some of the U.S.?
I mean, yeah,
Like
the
this,
time I
like,
was, yeah,
I know, like
yeah,
to
yes.
these people, like
Yeah, it was wild. They were, we're all young and they're just, living their lives. But and
yeah,
I can see that now, although it's a bit too bad that they weren't, well, more aware of what's going on. But so it took me a bit to, adjust. I was different.
yeah,
I was different.
yeah.
To them.
Well, what I find interesting about it is it also allows you to now kind of understand yourself a little bit more, and how what social interaction can look like in a completely different way than having grown up in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, I love the
more
fact
malleable.
Yes, I love the fact that I did live there.
Yeah,
and I also, taking from that experience and living there. So I love Boston. So when I was there, I loved it. I have been back, and there's so much great stuff to do around New England. I love the idea that there's so many little states right there that you can, we went skiing and every weekend, in Connecticut, like you can just whip over very close. And I love the feeling of New England. And then it took us about 2 years to get into the groove. And then we left. But I apply that to also someone joining my team. It takes you got to adjust, and you've got to feel, or then you are in it, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, now you feel the groove that you're in. It does. Sometimes it just kind of clicks, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
And
so you leave,
mm-hmm.
and you come back, and now it's also different too, because now everyone that you've known has been without you.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's true. That is true.
And so do you come back and are you able to re-engage with the same group of friends, or what's that like?
Yeah, I was. Throughout the 2 years, we were still close to Toronto. Like we would come back a lot. When they had a reading week, like my high school in Boston had a reading week in February. And then we had here it was a March break, right? So in February I would come back. That's where I wanted to come. That's how I wanted to spend my reading week, is to come back. So I would do that and visit. I would also have the summers back up at camp. We would come back every holiday, holiday time. And we were very in touch with Toronto. And so I came back for grade 11. And so I hadn't been to high school here, obviously in Toronto. So and then I went to Lawrence Park.
Right.
And I then I was really into being back though, and hanging out with everybody. And so socially I was really into that.
Yeah.
And the school, I was okay, but I really liked hanging out and socializing, let's say.
Yeah.
That's what you do, you know what I mean, when you're 16. So
yeah.
Okay. Ashley's talking here about trust and what happens when things work the way they're supposed to. When you work at a certain level, the choices tend to become very clear. Kaplan's Appliances is one of those places designers return to because the experience is consistent. And we at Walden Homes have been working with them for decades. The showroom is curated, not overwhelming, and the products are selected with intention. When service meets expectations repeatedly, the decision becomes simple. Kaplan's works with a broad range of manufacturers, including Sub-Zero, Wolf, Miele, Jenn-Air, La Cornue, Fisher & Paykel. Their outdoor offerings are just as considered, with brands like Lynx, DCS Outdoor by Fisher & Paykel, and Urban Bonfire, allowing indoor and outdoor spaces to be designed with the same level of care and cohesion. When things perform the way they should, project after project, the focus stays where it belongs, on the design, the space, and how it's lived in. If you want to learn more about Kaplan's, feel free to head over to the liner notes. There's a link. You can go to their website, or you can email me, and I'm happy to connect you with their team. My email address is Jonathan, JONATHAN, @waldenhomes.ca. All right, back to Ashley.
Okay, so at this point, because you're 16, 17, and you're starting to have to think. And at this time, for those that don't know, there is you had the option here in Toronto that if you wanted to, you could go to OAC or you could fast track high school. So those were options. If you had enough of the credits to be able to go through and finish early, you could focus on that, which would mean giving up
spares. And I know
Yes.
that here we are when I'm talking about like,
Gosh, you are going way back.
right?
Yeah.
And I say all of this because what I personally find interesting about this is you have the opportunity to focus on one of two things when you're in high school. One is how you're gonna grow as a person into a career potentially early, or how you're going to establish all of your social abilities that can also steer you into a career. And they're two different things. And I find that a lot of people that I at least I think that are more, and this is me inserting myself, that are more creative, focus on the latter than the other. And I am so when did you decide that you wanted to go into interior design? Was it in high school? Was it in university? Was it after? Like, what did that look like?
Okay, so I'm not sure. I wasn't thinking about my career. So I guess, yes, option 2.
Yeah.
The path number 2 that you were saying was more my speed.
Yeah.
And I was really caught up in the social part, and my friends around me were moving faster than I was in the idea of like getting sorted to graduate to then go to university.
Define what they were going to major in. And I felt the same way.
So, and at the same time, I recognized that, but at the same time, it didn't bother me. And so then I needed to pick up some more credits.
Yep.
So I wasn't graduating with my class,
yep.
let's say. And I went to Lawrence Park, but then I left Lawrence Park. Okay. And so I didn't graduate from Lawrence Park.
Yep.
And so I had met, then I had like this other group of friends, and so that was kind of neat. And it was actually like an art school that I went to. Arts in the way of like how they taught the studies that you needed, but it wasn't like a full-on art school, but it was very artsy vibe, and which I really, really loved. And it was in a house. So that was really cool. Like math was on the 3rd floor, in the attic, and then the bathrooms had the bathtubs in it with the sinks. And, it was like it was an annex. It was in the annex. It was like an annex. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Kind of house. And so all to say that friends graduated. I needed to pick up some other credits in order to graduate.
Yeah.
I also was with somebody who was very artsy, and we decided I didn't go to university then. And we drove across Canada and landed in Whistler, and then skied the mountains that winter.
Hell yes.
So that was how I did it.
You're saying this like, as if like you should have gone to university, but like this, you're talking about like real world experience. Mm-hmm. You're driving across the country. Your car break down. You got to figure out where you're going to sleep. All of those things are what teach you how you're going to go live in the world.
Yeah. But you don't know obviously when you're doing it, but you're not scared of it either. That's really,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Figure it out. Yeah. In the moment.
Yeah.
So we did that. Yes. And then stayed. Yeah. As I said, the season, I was getting a little antsy after the season, and hadn't really sorted out exactly what to do yet about school.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what happened was then we moved to Vancouver because I had to work, and I worked at Benetton. I don't know if you remember that store, but I don't think it's no longer, but so close. Right. And all the campaigns and the photography, all the ads and everything, it was a whole thing at the time. And I worked there, and then again, getting antsy, and then I need to get to school. So I was 21 when I wrapped up the Vancouver move and started school. So I was mature, let's say, considered a mature student. And I went to design school. So I didn't go to university. So when I was at high school, it was a grade 13.
Yeah.
Needed more, like another semester to finish that up, and did let's say 2 years off
experience.
Yeah. And then went to design school back in Toronto. Yeah.
And how was it? How did you like it? Did it feel like it was different than what you'd experienced of like high school and high school?
Yeah.
Like, did you finally feel at home?
Yes. I guess I felt that I could do that. could do it. Like that's kind of like, there's more to it than that, but because of my high school and, how I kind of put myself in high school and the work that I didn't do so well in, my parents, I had to pay for my school, this education that I wanted. Okay. So I was part-time. I had to find a school that was for design that was part-time. So I went to the academy. At the time, it was called the Academy of Merchandising and Design. And there's one Toronto, Montreal, I think Tampa, and Chicago. And so it allowed me to do, their program was based on the seasons of the year. So winter, spring, summer, fall. And then they also allowed part-time. So I had to do part-time and I had to work. So that's what I did. And then I loved it so much. It was really not what I thought it was going to be. So that was kind of cool too. Like it was more of like a decorating thing that I thought it was, but it's not. And there was like this whole other area where that I really cling to about that's my math, all the space planning and learning I guess barriers and code and, just those kinds of measurements and scales and proportions. And so that was like what I really connected to as my math.
Right.
And then
because you had lived it without knowing it.
Yes. And then I didn't really know that there was numbers involved in what I wanted to do. And there was. And so and budgets and all, like, we didn't really, that's obviously now, but at school it's a little different.
Yeah.
But it all became I loved it. And then so my parents saw the work, and so then they paid for the school. Yeah. I had to prove that I was not.
So you were into it.
Yeah, that I was into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I did. And so then I didn't have to work, and I then went
to focus on
it. Yeah. And so it was a solid.
So what was it? Actually, I'm going to stop that. I'll ask, what were some of the first things that you were able to work on that really made you feel like this was what you wanted to do?
So like as far as projects go, or are we in school? Like
it could have been a project. It could have been some of the people that you'd met. It could have been a prof. I mean, it could have been like any of it. Was there any I haven't really asked this to someone specifically, really, but like, was there like an aha moment that you had there where you were like, I found it.
Found it.
I say this to you only because I know that you, and we're going to get to where you are now, but like you're there now.
Mm-hmm. I know. So so I guess where I am now is where and continue to grow, but is what I thought it was going to. No, it's always been the place I've wanted to be.
Yeah.
So when I've always wanted my own business in interior design. So that was always been something I always felt like it was, I was going to have a company in this. Didn't know what it meant. Didn't know. I mean, it could, at the time when I was saying that, it was just me. Like I can just do this on my own, and I was happy in that is that I did do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, I guess, before I went out on my own, I did work for one firm, and I didn't love working for someone.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't love it, and I wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't what I expected it to be. So I left there. And then really also before I started my own firm, I was working in TV. So for HGTV, and my first job for TV was called Savoir Faire, and there was a host for the show, and it was really about staging and styling a set for the host, and this was all about entertaining. So there was a little bit of a spirit of environment to it, but it was also very led by the ideas of the host and the producer, and that's fine. I just loved, I needed to get a car. I wasn't, an employee. I had to figure out how to build I guess some kind of set, whatever it was on a set. I mean, it wasn't just me, there was a team.
Yeah.
I had to, whatever the theme was, we had to come up with the ideas and find what they wanted us to put together. So there's a lot of discovery and a lot of running around. And I like that freedom of being out. It was also like flip phone, like phones it was new. They were new.
Yep. Playing Snake.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I had the car and booting around. And so it was like this freedom, but there's deadlines because with TV, there's serious, the deadlines have to be met. It's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And so it was just very energetic. It was a good energy, and I love a find, and it's the kind of problem I like to solve. And that then led into doing another show called, what was it called? Room Service. And then same producer was doing another show called Designing. And then I kind of left there. Through there, I am building a few clients here and there. I had a contract with them for 6 months, and then I would do my own stuff. Very little, but it started.
And what did that look like? What were do you remember
I remember my first client.
What was the first? Well, forget who the client was, but what was the project?
The project was he lived in a penthouse. And so this is also the neat thing, you live in the city and you're so familiar, but then you're like, oh, this penthouse, this building I've driven by for years and years and years. And now I'm in it. And now I get the perspective of being in it. And I just keep walking, I've always been walking by. It was like a blur, like it was in Yorkville. And anyway, you kind of drive around the city. And you're like, oh yeah, I've been in there. I've checked out that place, or I've designed that house. So you kind of, it's neat to.
It starts to have a line attached to different landmarks in the city.
Yeah.
That are your landmarks.
Yes, and you get behind the scenes of the city. I
Yeah.
think that's what you're in people's private spaces, and that's like a big deal for me. It's very. I don't take it for granted, because I love that part. And he was single, and he was not healthy. And he was the first time I ever heard about it. He was he had a hedge fund. And it was the first time I was like, what is the hedge fund? So he was right at the start of when hedge fund became a thing. And so I found him very interesting. I found his perspective really interesting. It was more like I have a way, but then having out someone else's idea, like how they think about it. So that, those kinds of interactions of, and conversations that are, how do I say, they are, like I learned, like a lot of learning that I didn't think that I was going to be, that was part of the job either. Right. And it was just, it wasn't any construction. It was all furniture. And so I guess I started out doing furniture.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. More than construction. Yes, I did. When I worked at that one firm, it was hotels and restaurants. So I was understood, like it wasn't, I was drawing at the time too. CAD was just starting. So it was a lot of drafting. So I was doing that. And then I left, I did the TV, and then I did
And how did you find learning CAD? Because I've spoken to some people and they were like, oh, it was great. And other people were like, oh my God, it was like such an arduous beast.
It was at the time. Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. It was. I found even like computers, like back to the creative thing, like it was hard for me to get into the jive of that, for sure. The firm that I worked at, they had PCs. They were, they weren't mandatory to use, but we did a lot of the specs that we had to do that. A lot of the documentation, not just drawings, but the documentation was used with the program and PC computer.
Okay.
And then the drawings were really drafted. But so I've already had, I had the draw, I've been drawing, and then I had the break of the TV, which I loved. And then my own client stuff started to trickle in.
And from that project, did that project land you your next project, or were your next couple of projects as a result of your own social connections? Like how did that work?
Yeah,
because sales in this is not always easy.
Well, so when I was just talking about my first client, let's say in the penthouse, when his ideas came, he would present his thoughts and ideas and perspective, let's say, and then recognizing that there is someone else involved in this. It's not just my thing and I get to do whatever I want. it is, am I pitching something? How that feels a little, it was hard. Like I didn't, or it wasn't hard, but it was odd for me to think that this is a sales or that it can be considered sales.
Yeah.
Because I found it so personal and I didn't want to, it's like, this is attached to something, some people can have attachments to what I may be suggesting that may bring in some kind of feeling that they do not want to have at all. So it's just a very, now there's a lot of conversation we had prior to. So we, I haven't gotten into any situation that's crazy like that, but it's just interesting to what territory you're in or what it is that you are, I guess you want to, they're asking for help and to make their home. I mean, it could be a million things, but whatever it is, asking for help. And so you're in their private space, and how you then jump into something that they're so familiar with. You just have to, be careful and kind of be able to listen and wait to respond. Anyway, it happens in life a lot, but all of that kind of stuff is very important in what we do. But to the point to your question about where the other projects where they started to roll was really with the TV. So when we did room service, it was the premise was we would go, there would be a room within a house. So it would be a real client and we would do one room. They would apply, and I guess I didn't do the picking, but the host and the producer would. Maybe, we need 3 living rooms, we need 2 kitchens. So whatever that looked like. And then we would be assigned, there were designers that were assigned to do those projects. So from clients, let's say from those, they would move into another house and then they would connect with me and I would do their home off. And then, that was different than the show.
Right.
Yes. And that was also after I was doing the show. So because it didn't happen right away and they were still in their home. So that's kind of, they were peers of mine, like these, who would, you could buy houses younger back then. And
you're seeing the dollar one further.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So they, and so then you'd have children and then you'd move to a bigger house. And so then they'd connect with me when those kind of changes and moves were happening in their life. And that's, I think, how I feel that's how it built. And then it was a word of mouth. Mm-hmm.
And so what stage of the design career on your own did you establish that you were ready to go and leave everything and start your own practice?
Mm-hmm.
Like how many projects had you completed, or how many were in front of you that you said, I can go do this now, this is viable?
I didn't think of it that way.
Okay.
I thought of it I guess it was a time in my life where I had the plan, as I said, like I've always wanted to have my own business. And I had been doing the client work. I had started a project that came from a friend of a friend of a friend. And these clients were the biggest project with the most creative freedom with a really great budget. So
that's hard to find.
Yes. And this was 2008. And and they lived close by. So I started that project. I was pregnant with my second child. I then had to, there was demo was happening, a little bit of the design at that time too. I wasn't in the processes and how I organize a project now. So it was very hands-on, and it was, yes, drawings done, but there's a lot of meetings on site.
Right.
So then my son Keith was born in September, and I was like, okay, I'm no longer able to do this. And they were said, no problem. And I can't remember how the conversation went. It was all good and everything. But anyway, I was with Keith and my kids. And then they called me 6 weeks later and asked if I could somehow come back. And I made that work. And
that is, so just not to cut you off too much here, but what I know is that it's also not easy to have a kid. And so, because you become immersed in that child and your world again becomes kind of small and
yes,
kind of secluded to mom life again.
Yeah.
And so the idea of being able to then have potentially now a creative outlet while you're doing it and finding a way to make that work is also going to be really invigorating.
So it was this, I was so wild how I guess where you're getting at too is there's this balance. it's not like I craved, but it's, like what I'm doing is like it's part of me. So it was so enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I was so enjoying being, a mom again, with Keith. And then it was so enjoyable to do the project. I mean, it just, the way, they were lovely. They really, it was like, I could have my, how I wanted to do it.
That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Of this.
It was it was, getting into the winter. So I was fashion at the time. I was wearing sweatpants and stuff, and you could have big coats because it was warm, it was cold, and it was a job site that was not heated at the time because we were right in the middle of the whole
underground phase.
Yes. And so, and they were close, so I could just come back and be with Keith, and I would do I would plan out. I was scheduled, but that's okay. I love a schedule, so that worked out well. And I come back and nurse Keith because that was really important to me. And then I'd go back out, and then I do, and I'd help at home, and and I just carried on and did this project, and that's I guess. Okay, back to your question about what was the one. Where did you see that it was like my aha moment there? And then that was also when I said, okay, I'm at 2 kids. I always knew I was going to have 2, I just wanted 2 kids. I had 2 kids, and now it's happening.
Okay.
And made it happen there.
Can I ask you a silly question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever really had a chance to stop and think about that?
I have, in a way of when I've started my business, I always say it's 2008.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it in an aha moment.
Okay.
Kind of way.
It
is a way. It is also, there was something about having my own business, which gave me my own freedom for my own life. And I wanted that too. And I wanted to be able to make my own decisions then. I was married. I'm no longer with, I'm separated. We're all good. But it was just like a thing in my mind that I wanted to do things that, and therefore I needed myself to show up for them.
Ashley talks about how the way a space feels is shaped by how it sits in its context and responds to what's already there. Aquanta Pools, a division of biodesign here in Ontario, brings that same philosophy to water and landscape. Their approach, originally from Italy, is rooted in simplicity of form and responsiveness to the natural terrain. Rather than a rigid inserted rectangle of concrete, their systems allow the pool to read as a part of the place, to expand and contract up to 300 times per foot of movement without working against the ground or existing structure. That means a pool can flow around boulders instead of against them, or gently nestle into contours that already exist on site. The result is a water feature that feels organic, calm, and integrated rather than imposed. Finished with high-quality resin surfaces that are tactile, durable, and reflective of the surrounding palette, Aquanta Pools allows water, earth, and form to be quiet in harmony. When design honors landscape, the outcome isn't just beautiful, it feels right. If you want to learn more, head over to the liner notes of the show and you'll be able to click on Aquanta Pools website. If you'd like an introduction from me, I'm happy to do so. My email address is jonathan, JONATHAN, @waldenhomes.ca. And back to Ashley. Well, I mean, look, I so far, my biggest takeaway of all of this that has been really enjoyable for me.
Yeah, this is kind of neat talking through it. I mean, I do this. I've done it in different ways, but it's nice to see. The more I do, I can see things become a little clearer and
right?
clearer. Yeah.
So because what I'm seeing in this is throughout the course of your life, you've been trying to really establish this is me. And so, but you've been on the fringe from what you're saying in trying to fit everything else that everyone else or things are trying to pull you in another direction. But then here you're finally landing in a place where it works professionally. You're balancing your family financially. You can start making money, and you're in a good place. And I think that a lot of people in life can struggle through getting to a point where they're ever going to have that.
Yeah, I feel that I've these things show. I guess things show up, and this is so great to have this conversation like this conversation to reflect back to put the points together. But it's not like the intention. It just kind of flows that way, which is why it's so wild. And knowing this, the fact that the idea that I wanted to do this all my life, this whatever it is, but I thought it was one thing. I still call it that I wanted to be a designer, when I was younger. I didn't know that it was this so much, but it's still familiar to me. Like they still relate, what I still means the same thing to me.
Right.
And I guess, maybe, it started there. And
and it evolved.
Yeah. And it evolved. And there is, one foot and step in front of the other kind of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you're able to raise your kids, you're able to now establish your business. So at what point do you realize, okay, I've got a viable business here. I'm going to need some support to be able to make this thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
What is that? Okay. So the first, I guess, big leap was I was working out of my house.
Yeah.
And then I needed more space. Okay. So I thought that it'd be so great to also have my own business, because then I can pick up the kids, and then I can hang out with them for a bit, and then I can make, feel like I was more, I could be there. I could do both, let's say. Okay. So could not. Cannot do both. I cannot do both well, or I need to, do one at a time.
Okay.
There's to solve a problem. There's, there are, maybe it doesn't feel like a problem, but maybe to create an idea, let's say,
Yeah.
You have the idea, and then you work back from that, and you maybe think it's, I know this now because I totally know this now, but you think, oh, maybe it's 3 steps to get to the idea, to finish it the way I envision it. But it's really not. It's a lot of work to get to complete an idea that I guess for me, that I relate to, or the way I see it to be finished.
Okay.
So anyway, all those little steps are, I guess it's time, it's work, and there's a flow to it. And I needed more space for the flow, and the bits of when I wanted to, hang out with the kids when they were, up from their nap or whatever it was sometimes it would be in a flow. And so I would go and be with them because that's what I wanted to do, but it was just harder to get back into the work. So all to say, the first step was to have an office outside of the house. So I did that. And I did that with a friend of mine who's also a designer. And we found this, anyway, I found the spot. And then I had to find some other friends who had some real, businesses that they were starting to kind of help with the rent.
The financial side.
Finance of it.
You're signing a lease and you have a commitment.
Yeah. Yes. And then, I someone else to help. So I did, that was the first time I hired. And
was it, how did it feel? Was it scary?
I was like, okay, I'm everything. I mean, it was basically like, I didn't work. Well, I did, but I felt so responsible for her, and just because she left her job to come to be with me. Like she asked, she was like, I would love to work for you, whatever it is. And, so I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, here you go. Like I just all the, the work. That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew. She is still with me. She's still, so maybe that was like 15 years ago or so, 16 now. And we're still in the same space, but we had a corner on the floor. Now we have the whole floor. So broke down some walls, kind of moved on over. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what has it looked like over the, call it those last 16 years? Because you bring in an employee, now you're focused on having to, I know this because I look after our sales and I do all that stuff. And so you bear the weight of responsibility
mm-hmm.
for the people that are at the company,
mm-hmm.
Which is a lot. And, but at the same time, it's enjoyable because you like what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You like the social element of it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you then go and take what you have and start branching out into, and because I want to go to this, is how do you get out of now Toronto? How do you start getting into other markets? What does that look like?
So I guess, think about where we've been, working, but that's a great question for me because I find that there's still the word of mouth that has taken us there.
Yeah.
Then there's the thing of being comfortable with that. And that's the shift now. So the taste of being out, doing projects in the US, and we've had one in Europe, is through connections. And I love like those projects and being, in other, experimenting and playing around and being in another city, in another country. So we'll love, more of that. So that's what we're working on that a lot now of the reach. And so try to get out of, we don't want to get out of the referrals. We're totally into that. It is the best. But it's also the game. Growth. There's like a fun little game around like, hey, let's see where we can land in somewhere else. So that's what we're playing now. And that is through marketing. That is through reaching, like outreach. Mm-hmm. That is also through, I guess, as the social part, like going out and meeting people. And it's not even in, in the design world. Mm-hmm. It's, just talking and asking questions really wherever I am.
And you're not just doing, at this point, you're not just doing interior design.
Right. Do you mean the furniture?
Yeah.
You mean that? Yeah.
Thank
you. I was like, oh, what else is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
So furniture, because what I find interesting about it is, you talked about before how you were sourcing furniture for a TV show, and yet here you are back to that, but now for yourself.
Mm-hmm. I love that part. I love this part of the furniture component. It's also, it shapes the brand. It shapes ideas that we kind of fall under how we see design and work in design. It is, so therefore it's like a language, and it's been something we've been doing for a while. And it was always about filling a need in a space. And then you can obviously then have a little freedom of how that's, you've got the size that needs to work, but then what that looks like. So that's always a creative fun. Mm-hmm. And it is, I'm doing this because of the creative. I'm creative, or that's I'm a creative person. And now there's the business part. And that was, obviously all new to me, still is all the time, but it is really like, I really love learning and being in the business side. So this also becomes, an asset to the business.
Right. Yeah. What I have found the most interesting element of having started this podcast and creating this dialogue with people is that almost every single person that has founded their company has very little experience on the business side of it, because that's not what they went to school for. And if you did, then you're probably in the wrong business, right? Mm-hmm. And that the biggest challenge in running the business is the business side of things, mm-hmm. and filling the gap in what you both like and don't like within that element of operation. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Most people want to be on the creative side of things. They don't necessarily want to have to manage payroll and books and all the rest of it.
It's even when you're on the creative side, but I find we have this conversation with the team all the time, because there's so little creative. It's the idea at the beginning, but then you have to execute that. And there is so much to do to execute the idea. And we're always trying to figure out, we always want to, sort through and figure out ways to be in more of to have more creative time, and the appreciation of there's really great milestones that come through seeing the development of a beautiful drawing package and the designs on the construction side. I love that a lot. I love it too. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. I think that the creativity, like being in a creative, I think the idea is that there's no structure. You just let your mind go. What is it? What is it that you're kind of dreaming of things? I think there's something that is dreamy about it, attached to it, that I'm not sure that's really the way, but because we've lost it, we're craving that space for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to get back into. And it's hard to, it's about like carving that time. And you can measure a lot of you can measure how long it can take to do a drawing package by, entering your time and, you printing up the data and seeing what that looks like and what, in the scheme development phase, like what was happening. But creativity has like no time, like you're constant, like you're not on a clock, right?
You're just
on
like the couch.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. With someone, and you might have another thought that relates back to that design.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course.
So it's not like a 9 to 5. And sometimes it's like, that's where people think it might need to be when you're, so no. that's a hard one. So it's,
but it's not. I mean, it might be hard for someone else, but if you're in this industry,
yes,
that's what it is. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, if you are an entrepreneur in almost any business, your day does not end when the people go home.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. So you have to,
that's why they're not the entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yes. So it's like, it's like, so, I mean, the creativity for me is, I do have that space because as it's not like it's never ending, but it's just it's just space I carry all the time. Okay. I've lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
We're talking about this.
Okay.
I mean, we got into furniture and we got
right. Okay.
And we got into from there. I mean, really just the topic of being an entrepreneur and the streams that you evolve into.
Mm-hmm. So when the business part of it is, those are amazing goals as well, right? You said, so it's fun to work, fun and hard to, I guess, what is it? It's just, there is a lot of work to maintain and to work towards and to, really strategize and to think of ideas to kind of get to a place that where you want to go. And I really enjoy that. And I do now have a team, like there's obviously the design team, but then there's also there's a business side team as well. And very important. And that has been really amazing. And I'm pretty into that. That's where I'm at now. So, to help. Yeah. With my dreams to kind of come together. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty great place to be. It's obviously, it comes with all of the other elements of like, now we've got to strategize, we've got to execute, and we've got to come up with more ideas on how we're going to continue to grow this and reach new markets and do all those kinds of things, marketing strategies, but that's
all costs
also
money and, Yeah. Yes. And we're, staying with, I like, it is all of that obviously. And it is, the more for me, it's really helpful to have the team around for the accountability for myself. So, there's a different kind of structure now. And that is helpful for me. And it also is, there's a lot to learn from the people that I'm working with. And it just feels more organized. I mean, it is more organized. It is organized. There just feels like it's like a moving forward. And, there's 2 steps back for sure, but it's just,
but anything that's worth having is always going to experience that kind of trial and tribulation.
Yeah. You have to be up for that. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And in addition to that, you also seem to be at a point now where like you understand what you really are good at, what you're not good at, and how to fill the gaps with those people to be able to help move this business in a direction that you want it to go. It always will take time to get to that point. Yeah. And it's hard to hand things off.
Yes. Yeah. So that's also, obviously, practice for me. And it's building the team, and a really great team is key.
Oh, you're smiling as you're saying that.
Yeah. Because I am, why am I smiling? I read and listen a lot about that. And I enjoy trying to figure that out. Yeah. I mean, all of it is like, I really love everything that I'm doing, and really, it's never a dull moment. And and always new. There's always something new to think of, which I love. Like, it's not just, let's say it's the furniture and then stop there. There's always like ideas and things, ideas and places to go with those ideas. And it's just kind of like, it doesn't end. So I like the discovery and learning.
Yeah. I mean, if you're still doing that at this stage of life, or you've been doing this for a little while now, that's a good place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't even, time flown by. I don't know.
Time has flown by.
I guess, yeah, we're up to the, we're into the present moment right now that we worked all the way up to the present moment. So,
well, and into the future, but like what you want to do with your marketing, right?
Oh my gosh.
And how you wanted to go into new areas and go stay in Toronto, but also work beyond it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I love Toronto. And there's so much, I mean, there's what is it? There's so much opportunity, as we all know, and there is room for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like, just stay in that, focus that, and start to, there's a lot out there to look at and to compare, but that's the practice too. Like, there's room for everyone. So go do what you love to do.
I've got to say, like, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed the conversation. It, start to finish, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, really enjoyed it, and I it was like kind of neat just going through a little bit of my life there.
But the candor,
thanks for all the questions, and
you're welcome,
and navigating that for me.
Well, so I'm going to say this too, is that if you've been listening, you can go on to Behind Build. We've got Instagram, and there you're going to be able to see the work that you have there, Ashley. So check out the Behind the Build Instagram. Ashley will choose with her team what they want to feature. So whether it's going to be some of the interiors, if it's going to be some of the furniture, like you get a sense of kind of all of it is encompassing with the brand. And I would recommend also from there going on her website and take a look at it all. And it's been great.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, Jonathan. Yeah. It's a pleasure.